Broadhead selection is one of, if not the most controversial topics in the archery industry when we're talking about hunting. Decided to take 13 different mechanical broadheads only and actually do some live testing on whitetail with a group of my hunting buddies. So we're going to run through all of these, give you the price breakdowns, take a look at the aftermath close up, and then we're going to jump into the shot. We've got shot angles for you guys, the shot placement, the devastation of each one of these broadheads, what it looks like afterwards, and then at the end I'm going to give you my breakdown of my tops. All right, let's see. First one we got on the list is the Sevr 2.0 titanium. These are going to run you $17 per broadhead. This is the one that was shot at a whitetail, so you can kind of see what that looks like after passing through an animal. And then we've got the brand new. This is obviously collapsed, but this is exactly what it looks like, nice and pretty right out of the package. Next one we're going to run through is the Slick Trick Torch. They run $50 for a 3-pack, which makes them $16.50 per broadhead. These are spring loaded. We got a 2-inch cutting diameter. We never found the arrow through this whitetail, so all I have is a new one, but this is what it looks like brand new. Third one you'll see is the NAP Spitfire Max. These run $40 for a 3-pack, $13.25-ish, give or take, per broadhead. It's got the chisel tip up top, huge 3-blade cutting diameter. Next up you'll see the RD2 XO broadhead from B3 Archery. This one might surprise you a little bit. We got $60 for 3 of them with a practice head, so that makes them $20 a piece. This is the arrow that went through the whitetail. Here's you a brand new one right out of the package. This one was impressive. You're going to want to watch out in that one. Rolling right into the G5 Megameat. Huge 2-inch cut plus, honestly, 3-blade. This one is $60 for a 3-pack plus a practice tip, so you're running $20 per broadhead. This is the one that went through the whitetail in the video. I don't have a new one to compare it to side by side without busting out a package, but that looks, besides all the hair, looks pretty dang close to what it looks like. A new one for me that I've never shot before is the Rec HXP, $55 for a 3-pack. Let's bust this open, make some $18.25-ish per broadhead. This is the one that went through the whitetail. And then this is closed, but this is a brand new one right out of the package. A fan favorite up next, the Grim Reaper. This is the razor tip 3-blade. All these are 100 grains, by the way. We didn't mix that up or anything like that. This one is going to come with 3 broadheads and a practice tip. We're rocking $50 for 3 with that practice tip. Makes them $16.50 a piece. Grim Reaper's been around a long time and people love them. So this is the one that the whitetail went through. Just looks gnarly as all get out. And then here is your brand new one closed. NAP Killzone. This one also in that family with the Spitfire Max. Running $40 for a 3-pack, making them $13.25 a piece. The one that went through the whitetail, this one is the chisel tip one. So the one that went through the whitetail, that chisel tip is bent on the top half. Brand new, that's what it should look like right out of your arrow after it deploys into the whitetail. So that one's going to be after the Grim Reaper. The T2 from G5 in that same family as your G5 Megameat. These run you $60 for a 3-pack, so $20 per broadhead as well. And then your brand new one here, nice and sharp. That's closed and locking into place. That's what it looks like, all pretty right when it makes impact. After that, you'll see the B3 exoskeleton again, the Meg 100. This is going to be a folding broadhead. Runs $60 for a 3-pack. We do get a practice head with that as well, so $20 per broadhead. This is the one that went through the whitetail. You see we're missing 2 blades there. We'll get to that story here in a little while. And then this is your brand new one. This one just looks gnarly. That's what's coming at you, right? And then all 3 of these individually fold out when it makes contact, giving you that going into the entry of the animal. So that's your brand new. That's what it should look like after it goes through. So that's your B3 Meg 100. Again, another one I don't have a full open package of, but this is going to be your Rage Hypodermic No Collar. 2-inch plus cut. These are tried and true. People love these. It's got some competition in the market, but this is the one that went through the whitetail. You see some bending on the blades there, but that one did its job. Just don't have a new one to compare it to, so that's going to be your Rage NC. Last but not least of the deer that we recovered, we've got the Beast 2.3, biggest blade that they make. Those are $60 for 2 broadheads plus a practice tip, so you're kind of in there in the monies. $30 for your individual broadheads. Let's bust these open. I'll be honest, I was extremely skeptical of these going into this test. Gave them to somebody else to shoot, and he did a great job with that. So we got the one that went through the whitetail virtually unscathed. And then when you hear the story of the gut and quarter, you'll be amazed. And then this is your brand new, which basically looks the exact same without the blood. So that one is going to shock a lot of people if you've never shot that broadhead. I got 2 others as well. We shot the Schwacker. This is what went through the whitetail. We did not recover this animal based on shot placement, so that's what I've got there. So not a whole lot of opinions on that just because we didn't get the results we were hoping for. And then the last one is the single bevel Omega from VPA Archery. This is obviously not a mechanical, but I wanted to put some shot placement through the test. Wait and see later on in the video what we did with that one. So that is all the broadheads that we tested. How much they cost, we went through some of the biggest names in the mechanical side of things when it comes to broadheads. We're going to jump right into shot videos. You guys will see entry and exit wound on cleaned animals, and then kind of overall impressions of how that broadhead reacted. And then at the very end, I'm going to give my top list of the top 12, 1 through 12, of what I think is the best broadhead that we tested. So hopefully you guys enjoy the next part. All right, we got David first night on the docket shooting the Sevr titaniums. Full expansion. Looks like we got a little bend on both sides and then chipping on both of the blades. Tip still plenty sharp. Definitely unusable, but clearly did the job. Got a high lung shot as you guys just saw in the video. Full pass. So full pass, quartering away. This is gonna be our entry hole here. Just for reference, you got my hand on both sides, right? We're probably dealing with 2.5 inches here, right through a rib. Money. Truthfully, a little bit disappointing in my opinion on the exit wound. I don't know if maybe one of the blades folded back or something based on the comment from David. Entry wound was phenomenal, but this tiny exit wound, typically your exit wound is going to be bigger on a mechanical, and this is much smaller. Right behind that opposite shoulder is, again, like you guys saw in the video, but did the job. But that's kind of something to watch out for, I guess. I'd be interested to shoot it again and see if we get the same result. Let's bust this bad boy open and see what kind of carnage we got on the inside. All right, after we gutted him open, you can see we got entry wound here, went right through that rib. That's exactly where the point of that broadhead went through. Nice 2.5 inch cut. And then we got perfect quartering away here on this backside. Backside's gonna split those ribs. And if you remember from the first part on the outside of the deer, it looked like we had a smaller entry hole. What it looks like to me is that right side blade closed back up and maybe pivoted around this ribs and didn't have enough kinetic energy to push through that rib like it did on the front side. But to be 100% honest with you, Sevr, heck of a job, good shot. Moving on. Oh my God. All right, second shot of the night. We did not recover the arrow. We'll get that later, but Mike shot the Slick Trick Torch. So spring-loaded 2-inch cut. And we're gonna dive right on in. That's Cody, not Mike. That one's on me.
It's all good, dude.
We still gotta go look for Mike's deer.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike. All right, entry wound with that quartering away was what we looked at earlier. It was kind of back here and then came out straight through that front shoulder, coming around the inside. So my hand here, is exactly where that broadhead hit, and our entry wound on the inside is all the way up here. So deep quartering away shot, broke 1, 2, I'm gonna count 3 ribs there, completely shattered. And then right here on the exit wound, no ribs. We're going on the bottom side just because we're on an elevated blind. Exit wound is definitely fatal. Your blades collapsed on this side, but I bet it was because of the gargantuan entry hole. Came right out the front shoulder, right on the front side. So through the bottom side of the brisket, out the front, complete devastation. Torch did its job. All right, we got Mike shooting the Spitfire Max. So this broadhead will be a open this direction whenever it's deployed. Cut on contact. Blades are pretty snatched up on this side. That side, that one looks pretty clean. They're all bent, but all in all, kind of what I expected out of the Spitfire Max. Let's take a look at the entry and exit. All right, so this deer was quartering away. Entry is going to be on this side, which, truthfully speaking, is absolute garbage for entry wound. This broadhead, it's not going to close all the way, but it's going to come into the body like this and should fold open. So, should fold open on contact. We should be getting a much larger contact, or a much larger cutting diameter going through the entry of this, which tells me that this broadhead didn't deploy until we got past the skin and the rib. I'm hoping the interior shows us much more. Exit wound, about what I expected to see for the entry wound, to be truthful. Full hole, 3 blade. I mean, that's exactly what you want to see. Quartering away, straight through the back shoulder. Great shot. Just for reference, this was our entry wound. Was not really impressed with. However, on the inside, it did exactly what I thought it was going to do, and just open late. So you can see, snap 2 ribs. The classic Spitfire entrance right there. It just didn't open on contact. It waited till it got to the ribs. Broke both of these ribs here. Great entry wound all the way through. Just didn't see that from the outside. Perfect high to low on this side. Exit looks exactly like that 3 blade that we've got for the Spitfire, right through the ribs, straight out the front shoulder. Did its job. So a little bit misleading on this front side for the entry wound. Felt like it should have opened up a little bit more, but all in all, did the exact job it's supposed to on this deer. All right, second morning, David got himself another one, shooting the B3 RD2. So the way that this one works, folds up in and locks into place. It's a little sleeker than that, but it's all gunked up. Comes back down and locks, just like this. 2-inch cut, I believe, off the top of my head. Chisel tip. Those blades are truthfully immaculate. Not a single chip. Still sharp. No bends. I don't really have a complaint, especially after we know what happened to this deer. So, backstory on the shot. We got entry wound on this side. She was quartering away. This entire arrow was stuck in this deer all the way up into the wrap. All right, you can see where you can see on this arrow all the junk that was in here. So right up into the VAP, actually. So this entire arrow was stuck in her. Entry wound, exit wound looks like that. We'll see that here in just a second. Into the opposite shoulder and just absolutely tore up. So I'm actually pretty impressed with that, having never seen that live in action. So entry wound here. We got right into what seems like the liver, but huge 2-inch cut. This is the interesting part about why I'm impressed with what happened. The exit wound is the same size as the entry wound, give or take, which tells me it opened on contact, stayed 2 inches throughout the entire process, and exited the body 2 inches. Now with that hard quartering away, we also got all the way up into the shoulder, broke the shoulder, and cut this all open. So this bone is completely shattered. It's done. You see how it's not connected? So feeding down that way, entry all the way out of the body, and broke that opposite shoulder. I mean, you really can't ask for much more. She expired in less than 100 yards. Cleaned out. Had our entry wound right here. You guys saw the liver, and we also got a little bit of lung. So we got one lung, or excuse me, entry wound, liver, one lung, and then full pass through and broke the shoulder. So just so you guys know what we're working with. Here's that entry, snap that rib, still that same 2-inch cut all the way through. Working on the other side, that's the exit. Again, same 2-inch cut, split the ribs on that side, poked right out, and then we got into that shoulder. I mean, did its job. I can't say how much I'm actually impressed with that after the blades not being chipped, still sharp, and then right cut on contact, having 2 inches all the way through with no deviation, them locked fully open. Pretty impressive. Got a big deer on the ground, shooting the G5 Megameat 2-inch. Not a single bend in either one of these. Not a chip. This one's chipped. That one is chipped. Chisel tip, super sharp. Those are still sharp. I mean, full expansion. This is my go-to broadhead, and it performed exactly like I expected it to. Let's check out the entrance. All right, we got hard quartering away shot here, so coming in through that back rib. I'm expecting this to have hit heart. We'll check it after the autopsy, but I mean, this hole is just, I mean, you can't get any better than that. Huge hole in the entry. Let's flip them over, check the exit. Exit straight through the front shoulder, exactly like you want, just as big as the entry hole. I'm expecting the carnage on the inside to have that big 2-inch cut that the Megameat is known for. Straight pass through, right through bone. You can't ask for anything else. I know it might sound a little biased. This is my big old buck, but when it's on the line, that's the broadhead that I go to for those exact reasons. So let's gut them up and check the inside damage out, and we'll go from there. G5 Megameat through that buck, straight heart shot. That's what that 2-inch cut and those 3 blades does. I mean, you can't do any better than that right there. The broadhead performed perfectly. Cut it right in half, pretty much.
Shot placement.
Shot placement is king. You know what I preach. So entry wound, we got right here, 1, 2, 3. It's kind of hard to see, but 3 broken ribs, and then all the way through. I don't know if you can see it, Jordan, but we got exit wound right where my finger is. So 1, 2 broken ribs on that side. So we got 3 broken ribs here, 2 broken ribs here, full pass through, right through the heart. All right, Cody with another deer shooting the wrecked 2-inch. I have no experience with this broadhead personally, so I gave it to Cody because I knew he was going to make a good shot. Right, Cody?
Yeah, Cody. One of the two, Felis.
Yeah, one of the two. Honestly, man, those look great. Not a single chip, not a single bend. They're still sharp, honestly. Chisel's great. You clean that up, you'd probably be able to shoot it again, which is super impressive. Entry hole here, quartered away. Hard quarter. I mean, look how devastating that is. Huge entry cut. Exit here out the front. So arrows coming in just like this, right? Exit right out the front, into the front shoulder, just how you want it. Perfectly executed. That's impressive from a 2-blade. I think that's the nicest 2-blade cut we've seen so far, in my opinion. Entry wound over here after gutting him. Same size as what you see on the outside of the hide, which is great. Again, that quartering away shot. Exit wound right through this rib. So the exit wound broke the rib on the back side as well as on the front side. So keeping that momentum in the arrow, which is fantastic. And then right into that shoulder. Exactly what we expected to see. We did get heart on this one, so straight 2-inch cut with that wrecked through the heart. Next one, we got Mike with the Grim Reaper. Blades not bent. We got one chipped over here on this back side, but this is what's coming at you on that Grim Reaper, which looks absolutely gnarly. Same thing as a Spitfire, where we had that poor entry wound. Let's take a look. You're gonna have the same thing on this one, and I can't figure out why. So realistically, with this broadhead folded up like this, you get that entry here. As soon as that hits the hide, these should open. So you should get a massive entry wound. It could be the exact same thing that we have after we gut this doe, that the entry wound is small and these open up slowly through the ribs, and that rib cavity is completely blown out, which is highly possible, and I'm going to assume based on the fact that this deer expired quickly. But super interesting on both of the foldable 3 blades that are almost identical between the Spitfire Max and the Grim Reaper, to have such a small entry hole. And we'll see what the inside looks like. Let's flip her over and see the exit. Exit, again, absolute perfect angle, great shot. Right through the front shoulder. That's more of like what I expected to see as the entry, and that's what we got as our exit. So the inside of this cavity should be absolutely blown out, but let's get her open and we can check out those ribs. Both of these ribs are broken. Fantastic entry wound, that classic 3-blade foldable cut all the way through into the exit of the opposite shoulder. You see the same exact cut on the exit, still breaking a rib on the back side. So we're still carrying momentum through that arrow, and then all the way into the front shoulder. Besides the entry wound being a little lackluster like the Spitfire, performed beautifully. NAP Killzone, Cody got a perfect shot. Quartering away again. Bent that cut on contact. Blades don't look chipped, but they do look torqued. Definitely not shootable again, only because of that chisel tip. So the interesting thing about this one is we did not get a full pass through. So 70-pound bow should have definitely went all the way through. Entry wound here. It's that great 2-inch cut, just like it's supposed to be, almost identical. That's exactly what you hope for that cut on contact, and with those rear deploy blades opening up. So entry wound is great, all is well. And then we flip her over. All we have is this tiny little puncture. So we clearly went all the way through the front shoulder because this front shoulder is broken. So broke that scapula, but only poked out the side. So I'm not really sure what we're working for as far as force and FPS out of his bow, but a 70-pound bow with even a mechanical should full pass through that shoulder, in my opinion, or at least all of the other broadheads have. So that's something to kind of check more into, but let's get her open and see what the inside looks like. Got her taken care of. That's what that Killzone did. Basically cut the bottom half of the heart off right here, all the way around. Over here, broke 1, 2 ribs at the bottom. Huge cut, much larger of a cut than what it seems to be on the outside. And then the inside, well, that's kind of interesting. So if you look at this entry, it's horizontal to the body, and then as it worked its way through, this is now vertical to the body in between the ribs. So I don't know if that broadhead went in and spun, or like the arrow spins. So I don't know if it was continuing to torsion, but that's just kind of a interesting note. And then straight into the, this is all sorts of jacked up. Straight into the shoulder. Definitely did its job. It just really surprises me we didn't get a full pass through. David with the last deer of the weekend, shooting the G5 T2, in my opinion, saving the best for last. Not a single chip on either one of the blades. Blades are perfectly straight. Tip is still razor. Honestly, I'd probably shoot that again after you cleaned it up, which is extremely impressive. How could you be upset about that? We've got a 2-inch cut quartering away, and I mean, that's easy 3 inches of cut from a 2-inch cut. So amazing entrance wound. Exit wound doesn't disappoint either. Flipping her over straight through the front shoulder. Broke that bone in the front, I can feel it. And then that blade coming out right here, still getting that 2-inch cut, held open, full. 20 yards, kinetic energy was great on that arrow. Full pass, she didn't go 40 yards. Yeah, if that, maybe 20
crow
yards.
Flies 20.
Yeah, as a crow flies 20 yards. So very impressive from the T2. Let's see what the inside says. All right, opened her up. This, I had to show you guys the heart. That's the T2 out of that heart. I mean, just absolute carnage right through the middle. You cannot ask for anything better than that. Absolute perfect shot. Coming in this way, we've got, let's see here. Entry on this side. Holy smokes, look at that. We got 1 broken rib, 2 broken ribs, and a chipped rib here. Much larger than that 2-inch cut. Absolutely phenomenal on the entry wound. The exit, truthfully a little bit disappointing based on the entry, but we're going in between 2 ribs, so it's quite possible that those blades shifted and then came out in that front shoulder. Entry wound's ridiculous, right through the heart. Exit wound is a little bit small for what I'd expect to see, but clearly got the job done. When the deer doesn't run more than 20 yards as a crow flies, and the shot placement, again, shot placement is king always, is spot on. You can't ask anything more out of your broadhead. Heck of a job. Jordan with the second deer of the trip. We're working with the B3 Exoskeleton Meg 100, so three blade foldable, expandable. Broke off inside of her, so we'll check that head whenever I get that open, but let's take a look at the entry and exit. Entry here. So again, I'll show you guys whenever I get this broadhead out, but we have a small entry hole, which surprises me based on the head. When that hits that hide, I'm hoping that we're gonna see a lot more carnage on the inside. So last rib is here where my finger is. So right behind the last rib, perfect for a quartering away. Entry hole's a little bit small, but I'm hoping that once it got in there, it expanded, did its job. And then the exit the entry was here, so exit, we got full entry into that animal. And then our exit is, oh, I feel the broadhead right there. So the broadhead's actually right there. I can feel it in my finger, the tip of it. So it broke off right there. Not really an exit wound, maybe a poke from the top of that chisel tip. But after I get in there to gut this out, I might actually cut that out first just so I don't cut myself. But I can feel a edge of one of those blades here. So let's get her open and see what we can do. I wanted to cut open the shoulder first. We got the last, oh good. The other 2 are in there somewhere. So the rest of the arrow shaft, the outsert, entry, and then 1 blade left. They're supposed to be, so you see how this folds just like this and then comes down, folds up, and then when when impact hits, it folds down. There's supposed to be 2 others that do that, which means they're somewhere in this front shoulder. Just kind of a sidebar conversation. If you get this in your animal, 10 times more careful is what you need to be whenever you're gutting this animal. You don't want to reach your hand into somewhere that's got a potentially sharp razor blade. So just make sure you make that mental note. If you get an arrow broken off in an animal, this is great to have gotten out, but we still have two bogeys in there that we need to make sure that we're aware of. So that's what we got for broadhead. Honestly, pretty surprised we got 2 sheared off razor blades. That's not really what you want to see. Got her open, did not find the other 2 blades in here. We'll probably find it when we skin and quarter. Through the gutting process, this was the, obviously need to clean this up, but this was the entry here. Big hole through all that bile is. Straight quartering through the opposite shoulder. This is what I thought was really cool. That's your exit wound. So clearly we have sort of a, very similar to the Spitfire Max and the Grim Reaper, where that broadhead doesn't open on contact of the hide, but opens when it gets into the body cavity and really starts to make some pressure back against those foldable blades. But fully open the entire way through, and clearly open through the ribs. I'd call it a rib and a half broken. So fully open, the blades did their job and then broke off when they hit this rib, in my opinion, or else we wouldn't see that kind of star cut on the exit wound. So did its job. Good quartering away shot. I am a little disappointed in the fragile state of the Broadhead, but if you're looking to use it for one shot, it did the job. Last one of the weekend for Mike, shooting the Rage Hypodermic no collar. I don't think this is going to go back in, only because both of these blades, as you can see, are bent here and bent here. No chips, still decently sharp. Chisel points still rocking and rolling. It is locked out fully, like I said. It ain't going back up in there, so this is a one and done just because of those bent blades. But Rage has been tried and true. Shot plenty of deer with the Rage. Always works if your shot placement, as always, is king. But let's take a look at the entry and exit and support the data. That is kind of cool though. If you look at it like this, it's like the way the arrow is spinning this direction, and then it went in and bent those blades that way. That's pretty sweet looking. So we got entry wound basically like this. Cut that wide open, exactly what you want to see, cut on contact from those expandable blades. That is a pretty typical Rage entry hole there. She took the arrow with her, so we don't have an exit wound.
Got lodged in that sternum or shoulder?
Yeah, lodged in the sternum or in this front shoulder, maybe up in here. It doesn't seem to be broken, but I did forget that she ran off with the arrow, so we'll have to see what that damage looks like if there's at least a poke or something to see how far it went. Got her cut open. Looking for the entry and exit. There actually was no entry that broke through the ribs just because we went right through the shoulder, and the angle ended up being here, and then no exit. Go down in here, come all the way. The cavity goes all the way to the top of the other shoulder, into kind of, it missed the spine or she would have dropped, but I can feel top of the other shoulder, and it just basically broke this arm and pinned her against the other shoulder. So 6-7 inches of penetration, and then stopped. So a couple things are happening here with the sharpness of the Rage blades and the kinetic energy being pushed out of the particular bow Mike was shooting, to not have been able to come out full pass through that other shoulder. That's a difficult task for any Broadhead, to go through both shoulders, but to get that entry wound and as far into the cavity as it went, I mean, Rage is tried and true. Just happened so that this shot angle didn't really benefit the Broadhead at all, but it worked. We found her. Shooting the Beast 2 1/4 cut. This thing is spring loaded, has the bone evading technology, which isn't really working right now because it's all gunked up, but it does push back and forth. Blades not bent at all, but they are chipped just a little bit. Point still sharp. Looks like it held up just fine. Pretty durable. Be interested to see the inside of this deer. So hard angle on the quarter away. We think she might have moved when the shot went off and kind of flung her rear end back around. But we've got entry here, far back in the ham. So solid entry cut right there, exactly the size of the Broadhead. And then the exit is far up on the other side. We'll flip that over here in a second. But full pass through, full of the arrow. So it just kind of goes to show you, super sharp blades here to make it all the way through that animal and get a full pass through, and just the amount of kinetic energy that he's pushing through this rib TKO. So let's flip it over real quick. See the exit. This is going to be our exit up here. So exit just a titch smaller than the entrance, but that doesn't phase me, just because it does have that spring loaded technology. So coming all the way through the animal, these things were not going to be open fully and then right out. But let's open her up and see what kind of carnage we got on the inside. All right, so we got, remember that entry wound is back here through the ham, comes through the muscle, out into the backside. So hit the liver on that front side, cut it right in half, and then we came all the way through the body. Will you hand me your arrow, Jordan?
Yeah.
Came through here, and then all the way out this hole right here. So we got 3/4 of that arrow that's gonna be sticking in that animal. Good cut through the liver, hit one of the lungs as well, and then had our exit wound up here. Again, smaller than the entry wound, but if you can see where this exit wound is, it's right between 2 ribs. So I'm sure that this broadhead went like this, and you see how his blades are folding. So that's why your exit wound is gonna be a little bit smaller. So the beast did the job, baby. All right, got myself a doe shooting the VPA Omega. It's a 125 grain single bevel. So a little backstory on this particular broadhead and shot. I wanted to take a shot that proves a point that shot placement is king, and we came up with another saying this evening that shot angles are queen because of how this was. You guys just saw the footage of my shot. I intentionally took a hard 1/4" shot to send this single bevel through the front shoulder and out the backside. When we went to track this deer, 1 spot of blood in 70 yards. Tracked it on digs alone from the landowner. And one of the guys we were with honestly magically saw this deer in the brush. Blood trail was absolute garbage. This deer died. Shot placement was money on my part, and that's king, but the shot angle is the queen part. That 1/4" you don't get the same blood trail. The similar thing here, yes, the Omega did the job, but you guys have seen for the entire video how those 2-inch expandables, the 3-blade expandables just allow you to expel so much more blood from that animal than a fixed blade. Fixed blades have their place in the hunting world, but in my opinion, from what we've seen this weekend on actual hunting practice, the expandable is the way to go. Hopefully you guys gained a little insight from all these mechanical broadheads, looking at entry wounds, which ones deployed well, the travel, all sorts of stuff like that, so that way you can make your own conclusion on which one you'd like to run for next hunting season. But until then, I'm going to run down the top 12. So there are 14 broadheads in that video. The Omega single bevel I'm not going to discuss, and it's not going to be in the top because it's not a mechanical, and we are taking a 1/4" shot to check penetration, shot placement, and kind of prove a point with that. So that one's not going to be included, as well as the Schwacker I'm not going to include either because we didn't get to see that animal because of the shot placement. So those 2 are out. So we got 12 broadheads left. We just did the testing 2, running from 12 to all the way. My favorite one, we are going to start off with the Omega. All right, the B3 Omega. The reason this one is in last place for me is because both of those blades broke off. We did not get a full pass through, and it got stuck in that opposite shoulder where some of the others did not. So that one's in your 12 spot. Number 11, I am going to place in there the Rage Hypodermic no collar. Where did you go? While it did its job, I think the durability of these blades is in question. I know a lot of people don't shoot the mechanical broadheads more than once, me being one of those people. However, some of these held up a lot better than the Rage did in the durability department, even though it's his job. So that's going to be 11. Number 10, the Grim Reaper 3-blade. I do not like how much kinetic energy you lose from foldable broadheads. That's really my only mix-up from it. Small entry hole because it has to deploy. Yes, it does its job, but I just see room for improvement in the rear deploy broadheads. Right above that is going to be the Spitfire. If you are going to go with the rear deploy, I like the Spitfire chisel tip more. We did get a better entry hole, and I just like the way that this broadhead is constructed more so than the Grim Reaper. So in your 8 spot coming up next is the Slick Trick Torch. I like the spring-loaded and the fact that it stays locked, and it did a fantastic job. Again, this is going to come down to mechanics and durability. I like other broadheads just a titch more for what we did in this test. Number 7, NAP Killzone. Again, a rear deploying broadhead. Blades are kind of chipped up, but it gave fantastic entry and exit wounds. It's only farther down on the list because it does in that durability department need a little work. Wrecked is going to be up next. I've never shot this broadhead before. This was all new to me. Had one of my friends shoot it for this. I was extremely impressed with the durability of these blades, the penetration that it got, the carnage that it created all the way through the front ribs and the back ribs. That one's going to be on my list. Wrecked, solid choice. Number 5, the RD2. This one was extremely impressive to me. I was skeptical after the B3 EXO, but with the locking rear blades, the durability of these blades, the shot angle that this took on the whitetail, it deserves to be in the top 5. This was extremely impressive. This is worlds ahead, in my opinion, of that B3, the Meg 100 3 blade. I like this broadhead, and this one surprised me a lot. I picked Sevr in the number 4 spot over the RD2 because I think the construction of it is something to watch out for. I like this pivot. I think it allows it to keep the kinetic energy up. Yes, the blades are bent and chipped, but I like this mechanic of it being able to pivot around the bone and really keep that kinetic energy up when you're rocking speed. All you guys know I'm a shot placement and speed guy, and this fits right into my quiver. In the top 3, taking bronze, G5 T2. A lot of people will talk about, well, it's just a Rage. I showed you the blades on the Rage. They were bent. The durability of these blades, the way they lock into place on the backside. Big fan of this broadhead, and I have yet to use and or see somebody use this broadhead to where it didn't work at distance and or shot placement. So this is a very forgiving, in my opinion. Simple construction, well designed, and it just works, so it deserves to be in the top 3. Number 2, which blew my mind going into this competition, and the only reason that it's number 2 on my list, the Beast Broadhead, is because of the shot placement that we got on this animal. This deer was basically shot through the hindquarter because of the way it moved at the very last second, completely through the body, straight out the front shoulder, blew everything up, and these blades are unscathed, extremely sharp. I mean, we're talking about 2 feet plus of whitetail. It went through cracking bone, and this deer was recovered in less than 40 yards. The result is why I put this at number 2 and how it performed actually on the whitetail. Extremely impressive, deserves to be in the silver. And as you guys know, I'm a huge fan. Taking gold is the G5 Megameat. When it looks like this coming out and it's a rear deploy, not losing any of your kinetic energy going right through it, it's hard to beat. I have yet to have an animal with proper shot placement go any more than 20-25 yards on this. If you can find me something that beats this out, please let me know. I think you're going to have a tough job. There's my top 12. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, learned something from the video. If you guys ever need anything, reach out. All the description of these broadheads are below, where you can find them, where you can check them out, do your own research independently. But hopefully you guys learned something. Make sure you hit that sub button.